Good evening. First tonight, Derby's police commander has told this programme that a terrorist may have been preparing to bomb the city's main shopping centre. Today, Munir Mohammed was found guilty of plotting an attack for the so-called Islamic State.
Mohammed also tried to source the deadly poison ricin, and detectives say he posed a threat to the factory where he worked illegally, making supermarket ready meals. Well, our social affairs correspondent Jeremy Ball is in Normanton for us this evening. Good evening, Jeremy.
Yeah, good evening. This is Leopold Street, where Munir Mohammed was arrested just over a year ago. It was the centre of a huge armed police operation across Derby and as far afield as London. And the police believe that they may have foiled a Christmas bomb attack. And they say it's one of the country's most significant recent terrorism plots. The street in Derby where Munir Mohammed hatched his plan to maim and kill an extremist trying to attack the country where he'd asked for political asylum. Mohammed's former neighbours here on Leopold Street are horrified by what's emerged.
It was shocking. It's frightening for the people of Derby, for the people of the country, that this is here. It's here. It's real.
I was quite scared when I first found out, because obviously I could have got blown up from ISIS. It is twisted, aren't they? Very angry. It gives our religion a bad name.
Good that the authorities caught him, really. Had we known that that's what he's doing, obviously we'd inform the authorities.
But the authorities already had Munir Mohammed on their radar. Here he's at Asda in Spondon. He's on the phone, taking advice about finding household products that contain the chemicals for a powerful explosive called TATP. Mohammed also came to this discount store to look for a pressure cooker like this one. Detectives think he wanted to pack it with explosives to make a device like the one that was used in the Boston Marathon bombing. This is the bedsit where Munir Mohammed was arrested at number 28. On his computer, the police found graphic Islamic State propaganda, and chemicals being stored in his freezer and his drawer were two of the three components of TATP.
Munir Mohammed was an extremely dangerous individual, a terrorist aligned to the Islamic State, really motivated to carry out a mass casualty terrorist attack in their name. He certainly could have mounted an attack before Christmas 2016.
He was trying to make TATP at his home on Leopold Street. That must have been a huge risk to his neighbours there.
Had he started to construct TATP, it would have posed a very, very serious risk. TATP is a highly volatile explosive that can be accidentally detonated.
And the authorities aren't complacent about the threat from terrorism. It's only weeks since this major exercise at Derby's main shopping centre, just a short walk from the house where Munir Mohammed was trying to make his bomb.
We don't know where his target was, but we have to be alarmed that he was so close to the centre of our city. We arrested him within a few hundred metres of a large, crowded shopping centre, and we know that terrorists are attracted to that kind of location to do the most damage, to create the most impact, and I can't rule that out. We were clearly on the sharp end of a very serious plot that presented a very real risk to very many people.
Today, Munir Mohammed was found guilty of preparing a terrorist attack, along with a pharmacist from London called Roweda Al-Hassan. Mohammed approached her through this Muslim dating website. She was advising him online. He used these fake Dutch IDs to get work through an employment agency who sent him here to Kerry Foods, where he was making supermarket ready meals for Tesco and Morrison's. But what none of those companies knew was that he was also trying to get hold of the deadly poison, ricin. The computer found that his home had instructions for making ricin. He'd researched where to buy castor beans which contain the poison, and he'd messaged an Islamic State commander called Abu Bakr Kurdi, volunteering to carry out an attack. A fortnight later, Kurdi posted instructions in Arabic on Facebook. They said place poison in food like fruit and vegetables in markets, or inject poison in drinks or food that are prohibited in Islam. Do you think he did pose a risk to the food chain?
I suspect it's something that will have crossed his mind. It's very worrying. I think that having the know-how of how to manufacture ricin and the determination to carry out a terrorist attack in the name of the Islamic State, absolutely that's a worrying set of circumstances.
Because how would they have ever recovered food that was... How would they have done that? How would they have got that back if it was out there on the street? It'd just been a worst-case scenario, wouldn't it?
The police believe Mohammed decided to make a bomb instead and that he was caught just in time. They say that's down to both the security services and information from the public in Derby, and they say reporting any suspicions about terrorism could save lives.
So So Jeremy, what do we know about Munir Mohammed and why was he in Derby?
Well, Dominic, he arrived in this country from Sudan hidden in the back of a lorry. The police actually found him wandering along the side of the M1, and the Home Office placed him here in Derby after he claimed political asylum. Now, in court, Mohammed's been described as a bedroom jihadi. He didn't flaunt his extremism publicly, and in fact at Derby College, where he'd been studying English, they told me they didn't have any concerns at all about him. I've also spoken to a couple of former colleagues of his at different food factories who both told me that he seemed normal, quiet, hard-working. He even gave people lifts home, and of course nobody suspected that he might have been considering a poison attack. Professor Chris Elliott's a leading food safety expert.
I think the food businesses right across the UK and further afield will look at this and they will have to say, are the measures that we have in place currently robust enough? And if not, they will have to strengthen them.
In the last hour or so, we've had a statement from Kerry Foods where Munir Mohammed was working. That says the company has stringent safety controls and fully cooperated with the police inquiry. We've also heard from the agency that recruited him, the GI Group, that said Mohammed's fake Dutch ID was very sophisticated, and it says it's had an independent review which found that its vetting procedures were both rigorous and exceeded government guidelines, and the couple are both going to be sentenced next month.